Alright, so in this tutorial I'm just going to be looking at how to take the rendered JPEGs from our animation using the script in Rhino and convert them into a movie. To do that I'm using Adobe After Effects. And the first thing I need to do is set up a composition that I can put those files into. So I'm going to go up to Composition and say New Composition. I've already set my width and height of this composition to match the rendered output. My renderings are very, very small because they were just for demonstration purposes. Your renderings should be much bigger than this. The other thing I've done down here is this is the duration. We have hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. I know I have 50 frames that I've rendered, so if I just type 50, it automatically, let's see if I can get composition settings back up here. By typing 50, it knows it's 50 frames, which means it's 1 minute and 20 frames, or 1 second and 20 frames. The next thing I'm going to do is to go into this project resources. I'm going to right click here and go import file. I'm not using multiple file. Although we're bringing in multiple JPEGs, I'm just going to use import file, because what that lets me do is to select my first image and notify that After Effects that it's actually a JPEG sequence, which will sequence all the following images. So I'll import those. I can drag and drop my frames 0 to 49 into the composition. It'll snap into place. And here I can kind of pan my way through the scene. If I hit space, I'll play the scene. It takes some time to render it. And if I hit 0, it will pre-render the scene, which makes things a little bit smoother. So there it's pre-rendered and it can run through it. In class we were looking at how to use Adobe Media Encoder, but you may not need that. Here, if you just go to Composition, Add to Render Queue, say that, and then it brings us to our render settings here, and right now it's set to lossless. This would be a very, very large file. So I'm going to click lossless. I'm going to say AVI, but here I'm going to edit my format. And by that I'm going to give it some type of compression. There'll be some pre-installed video codecs, and I'm just going to use this Intel codec. That's fine by me. We'll say OK. Making sure there's sometimes you would have audio settings. We won't need that for this project. And here I can set its output. So I'll overwrite the test file I did. I'll render that briefly. Chirps up to let you know it's done. And here, if I open it with you'll see, you can see it's a very, very large scaled up image, but that would be the animation. If I wanted to use Adobe Media Encoder, I'll open that up really quickly. Here I could go File, Add After Effects Composition, and just open my After Effects file and select Composition 1, and I could render it. I'm also going to just pull in my AVI and show you that you can re-edit some of these things. So here it's taking that AVI and going to convert it to an H.264 setting. Typically what I use is for YouTube settings. Here if I just click, it'll bring up kind of a dialog box that shows me what I'm going to be outputting. So here I can change my file format, so I'll say H.264, and then I can go down to the bottom of this page and pick a particular kind of resolution for the image. I can change this and say revised, animation, save, and then here I'll render it. It's going to go through pretty quickly. It's done. And let's see now. If I look at the settings, we got a 4 megabytes was my first file. If I look at the properties, 1.6 megabytes for the revised file, which is H.264. The quality is probably about the same. This is obviously just so overscaled it looks horrible, but that's why we render at a much higher resolution than 350 pixels wide. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, let me know.